the last 10 years, approximately, I've specialised in remedial-based pregnancy and postnatal massage here in Brisbane. And I work with professional women, supporting them in their journey from pregnancy to motherhood. And the way that we do that here is through the remedial based pregnancy and postnatal massage, but also offering a evidence based infant massage program for them as well, to kind of further support their relationship and connection with their babies once they've had their babies. Over the years, I guess I've looked at treating pregnant and postnatal women in different ways. So, we've adapted and changed the way that we've treated over those years. And it's always with a focus of how can we get a better outcome for the client? How can we achieve better results for them? And the hot stones, I had thought about it and looked at it for a little while, and I thought, I need to figure out how we can incorporate this into our treatments, into our clinics. One clinic. So, yeah, knowing the benefits of the warmth, from the stones as well. Also, I guess understanding that we can use them as a remedial tool. So my concept of hot stones previously was always, my experience in having a beautiful relaxation Swedish style massage in, a day spa or a beauty salon setting. And I think just that change in concept and view around, we could actually use these as a remedial tool, and be really effective with it. I think that was really the thing that shifted my focus and my ideals about it too.
Yeah, cool. Had you used hot stones before you came on the course?
Not at all. Not ever. No, I probably early in my career had made a conscious decision not to go down that route, because it was always something that was my go-to in terms of my own relaxation, self-care type activity that I would do for myself. And as a therapist, I think sometimes when you know the treatment or the modality, you can't switch your brain off from it while you're in the treatment. So I kind of, in some ways, made a conscious decision very early on that I wasn't going to do stones, partly for that reason, because I wanted to keep them as like I could just lay on the table and relax.
From a practitioner that has received some lovely nurturing hot stone massages, how does that differ to how you're going to be using it as a tool in your clinic?
Yeah. This is a good question, and this is often the thing that we kind of need to point out and explain to clients, because instantly, as you mentioned, hot stones, people have this really, this view, this salon day spa view of what hot stones are, and you can see them sort of melting into that before you've even got them on the table. So for me, switching that into a remedial tool was actually relatively easy, to be honest, because I guess I just viewed them, once I kind of got my head around it, I just viewed the stones as an extension of my hands and an extension of some of the techniques or the remedial techniques that I would normally use anyway. For instance, in my treatments ordinarily, I use a lot of myofascial release oriented techniques. So, it's quite easy to adapt a hot stone to a technique like that. So that's how I kind of chose, to approach it, is to sort of just think, how can I use the benefits of the heat and also, working with the stone to save my hands, in a way that I can't would just be a pure extension of what I do already in a lot of ways.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I really love how that philosophy is really been taken on board and embedded, and you're like, yeah, I get it. This is what I'm doing. It's an extension of me. So yeah, fantastic. And how have your clients taken to this new addition?
I've had zero objections. In fact, as soon as I even make mere mention of it, they're like, yes, just whatever it is, just do it. And I'm kind of really particular about how I explain it. And they're like, yeah, I'm on board. I'm good.
That's so funny. And again, it's just testament to how much your clients trust you as well, Catherine.
It is.
And the amount of, the level of education and training that you provide to them. So before you did the training, it was definitely kind of a relaxation thing. Now you've done the training, it's very much a remedial tool that's an extension of you. Your clients love it. I know it's an online course, so what was the trickiest bit about learning a practical skill online for you?
I guess the concept of learning a manual therapy skill purely online is a little different, and maybe takes a little bit to kind of get your head around about how are we going to kind of do that. But I think going through it, I didn't find really any disadvantage in it purely being online, because we had the videos in each module that we could go back to, and you shot from different angles that we could see what was going on, and how to apply the technique through our weekly meetings, and just even our Facebook group. If there was something that required a little more clarification or further instruction, you jumped in there with a Facebook Live, or, we could talk through it in our weekly meetings. So
what was the best part of the training, and what actually worked for you?
I think initially it was the length of the course, that it was over the 7 weeks. So sometimes I find if I go along to, a day workshop or a weekend course, sometimes you get such a download of information all at once, that you go back to your clinic, and unless you're kind of really making a conscious effort to implement that technique or that particular thing right away, that week in your clinic, it kind of gets pushed to the back a little bit. And I think in the past, I've been guilty of kind of letting some of those skills fade away to the background, and maybe have not made the best use of them. So I think for me, it was the fact that it was paced over 7 weeks, that there was a weekly kind of edition of a new module, and then a weekly check-in. So it made me accountable then too, to get in and look at the material and go through the material in preparation then for that weekly meeting and check-in. But also it's the opportunity, I feel, for me, the way that I learn is being able to take that chunk of information or that chunk of technique for the week, and then being able to apply that right away, basically, into the clinic, and to the appropriate clients as well. And I think that style of learning for me particularly is very beneficial, and it's just kind of cementing the learning and building upon it each and every week. One of my personal challenges with the course was literally just getting used to using the stones, and getting over that sense of feeling really clunky, with getting the stones out, applying the stones, getting some sort of result, and then kind of putting stones back in water, and, just kind of going through that motion. If I was to say that there was a challenge, that was probably my own personal challenge, but I don't think it's a challenge in terms of the program or the delivery itself, if that makes sense.
I was going to ask, what was the most surprising thing about the hot stones themselves for you when you started to implement that into your clinic?
Wow. Lots of surprises and discoveries along the way. Initially, starting out just using the hot was just literally the application of the hot stone onto different areas of the body, and the results that we could get so quickly, and in a way that um, was beneficial to the client, but was not intrusive or terribly uncomfortable, or you know um, one of my clients describes it as there were less cringy bits in that treatment. So, and I'm like, cringy bits? There's not supposed to be cringy bits so much. But that was her way of describing, is that, sometimes there's areas for particular clients that are just really bound up and, sometimes quite uncomfortable to have some work done on. And I just found that the stones, the hot, initially, just kind of was able to work through that barrier, or that layer of discomfort quite quickly. And then I could follow up with a little more work, directly with my hands if I needed to apply, an MET, or, a different kind of technique if it was needed. But the client experience, of that, and not feeling like they've been pummeled, that was pretty amazing and surprising. But the true the true surprise came with using the alternating hot and cold stones. Definitely. I was really reluctant at first. I just couldn't quite get my head around, like, literally taking stones from the freezer and applying them into the treatment, particularly like as we were in winter as well. I'm like, yeah, I can see how that will work in summer, with some of my clients and the conditions that they present with, particularly a lot of swelling and inflammatory type presentations. But I couldn't quite get my head around, like, just using it in a general application. Um, and when I finally got brave enough to do that, I picked my clients well, who, they love that when we're experimenting with things like that. The result with the alternating hot and cold was absolutely phenomenal. If I had not seen it and experienced it for myself, I honestly would never have believed it. The amount of work that it saved me, I think the first client that I applied this to had quite a history of quite tight gastrocs, after she's got quite a history in terms of Achilles injuries and things going on. So essentially, she has very, very tight gastroc. And it's part of the treatment and the course of the work that we do for her each time she comes in. And so I knew that she would be a great candidate for this work, to see, how that played out. With literally, I reckon, 3 or 4 rounds of that alternating hot cold, or cold hot. I start with the cold. Her gastroc was just butter. Like, it was, which took all of maybe a minute or a minute and a half to complete. And ordinarily, to work on, both of her lower legs could take me 20 minutes at least, or 30 minutes, depending on, how bad they were. What was even more surprising is that she felt the difference too. Immediately after the treatment, upon standing as well, there was further confirmation that it really had worked deeply and got a good result for her. But even I followed up, in the days afterwards, and she was still like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is game changing. As a result, each and every time that she comes in now, that's part and parcel of the work that we do for her, checking in and seeing how everything is progressing. But then we apply that technique, and she absolutely loves it. And I love it because A, I've got the most amazing result for my client, and B, it hasn't been a burden on me physically to carry out that treatment too. I'm not at risk of injury or burnout or anything like that. I think that's also been a really amazing benefit of utilizing the stones, is that get to give my body a bit of a break as well.
Would you recommend this training to other therapists?
Absolutely, without hesitation. Honestly, without hesitation. Having been through it and seeing the content, and the content, I have to say, is very comprehensive. What I guess I was a little surprised in a good way about is that not only did you go through the specific hot stones technique and delivery, and we've spoken about the information around the contraindications and all the safety aspects of that, but you are also helping therapists to integrate this into their actual business as well. The client just wants a result, is what I've found. They want an outcome and a result, and in a way that is effective and has some sort of longevity for them, so they can leave the clinic and still feel those benefits, in the days and the weeks afterwards. So for me and my clients, that's kind of what we focus on, is trying to get that longevity in the treatment and the result as well. So and so far what I've seen with the stones, that's certainly the case.
No, that's cool. Thank you so much, Catherine.